Hello. Hello, Max. Hello, Jewish Dictionary. This is just a test, just seeing if the audio is adequate and if the video quality is good enough for me to try this. Cool. All right, I'm just going to try and rejig the camera so it's a little bit more square on. So, sorry in advance. All righty, let's do some bits and bobs on this guy. It's a off-white by Vallejo model color. I'm going to get out a new brush to try out. Hello from Spain, Gundam Models. How are you, legend? It's just a test, seeing how things are going. Now I've still got a few bits and pieces to do on it. I'm not sort of super happy with this tattoo at the moment, so I'm thinking about doing some other bits on that. Like, it's okay. It's from Black Sun Miniatures, Mr. Sam. But I feel like these two tattoos came out better and more in line with the scale. But this one's a bit out of scale, out of sync, so I'm going to tweak that a little bit. And yeah, just a few more little touches on the non-metallic metals. Thank you, Gelfie. Hello in Lismore. Yes, Alexander, at the moment, this is a test to see if this is feasible and see if my setup works well enough to do some streaming. Don't get too excited, mate. It's just watching me paint a little dude, just for funsies. One of the things I often do, see you, Mr. Sam, is ask for a lot of feedback on my social medias, which I'm sure some of you have seen. But one thing I'm not confident on this guy, there is green in there, yes. I feel like he's just a little bit missing some color. So there's a very neutral hair color, and then the steel is obviously quite neutral as well. And then the skin, although it's got some color in it, is similar tones to what is on the steel and the hair. So you get a very harmonious look, but unfortunately it's was looking a little bit too one tone, one note. So these little orangey beard things, it's just a way to try and add a smidge more color without losing the sense of harmony that the model has. That's the theory anyway. Yeah, I actually I'm going to see if this works. So the war paints was the other option. I just recently did. I'll go and get another model, which is cool. But I'll show you the war paint I did. So I was contemplating something like, how does this work? Can you see this? Yeah, not really. But anyway, some dark face paint. I'm just going to go get the other war paint I did. Yeah, so I just recently finished this girl, which was sort of a lot of war paint, but it's not sure if see how it's very sort of quite cold colors, and this guy's quite warm. When you see the two of them side by side, you can sort of see how the steel's different tones and the skin's different tones. But yeah, I wanted to just maybe stick away from war paint on this guy just to differentiate him from her a little bit, maybe. So yeah, but I'm not sure. I may still maybe just do that dark face paint up here. We shall see. Also decided that I wanted to make this steel on this side a little bit bluer. So I'm going to do some airbrushing in a moment. Not sure why my camera just turned on and off then. That's the second time it's done that. I have to look into that. Don't know if I will do a streaming schedule because this is just a hobby for me, so I just do it for fun. So I'm not really looking to commit to anything regular because I just paint when I feel like it. So, no. Hello, Alien Age. How are you, legend? Yes, hobby is the right word. Just do it for fun. I do not have a 3D printer. I have some friends who do. Most of the models I paint are purchased from manufacturers, such as this one, which was purchased from Carlos at Black Sun Miniatures. But my next few projects is going to include some 3D printed terrain and other bits and pieces, so that should be fun. Jewish Dictionary, you can paint like me someday. Just practice, mate. That's all it is. So sorry in advance if my camera angles are not optimal. It's very challenging to try and set the camera up and still do some of this fine detail stuff. Ashes painting, I try not to judge the way other people choose to enjoy their hobby. I think some people like really ultra smooth blends. Some of my favorite painters do crazy smooth blends, and I love that. I don't have the patience for that, and so the approach I take is to have a little bit of texture and have some interesting shapes and colors. So, but yeah, I'm not going to judge someone for choosing to try and get things ultra smooth. The most important thing is that you have fun. Some people's fun, and I'll use a guy whose name is Albert Moreto Font. His work is probably the smoothest you'll see anywhere in the world. He spends hours and hours and hours painting small sections, and he has an absolute ripping time. He loves it. And he paints 2 models a year, but he has fun. So I guess the answer to your question is I don't think people are doing the wrong thing as long as they're having fun. This is a little bit of wet in wet blending here. Tends to work better when you use some medium, which I have not done. That's it, Ashes. It's all about enjoyment. Now I'm going to apologise in advance. This is a test, so I want to see how this hairdryer comes across. How was that? I suppose I can always move the hairdryer and do that away from the model, but it is a pretty important part of how I'm as quick as I am, is I use the hairdryer to dry wet paints quite regularly, so get used to it. And I'll do some airbrushing in a moment as well to see how that goes. There are many, many good manufacturers on the internet of busts. Some other ones that I quite like are Chimera models, Nocturna models, Black Crow models. FER Miniatures does some awesome busts if you're slightly more into historical. There's quite a lot of bust manufacturers out in the world of toy soldier painting. One place you could go, which is a French website, it's called Figone, Figone. He stocks a lot of suppliers on the shelf, so you can try those out, or at least look through his stuff, see what other manufacturers are available on there. Let's try a little bit of airbrushing and see how that goes. Thank you, Ashes. I'm glad you enjoyed the videos. I will be very honest with you all. I don't make videos for anyone else. I make them for myself. And I do that to try and teach. One of the things that I've found is when you're trying to teach other people and explain things, that you get a bit better understanding of your own, I guess, approach. So the first thing I've added in there is thinner. The next thing I'm going to add is contrast paint. So as you can see, I mix directly in the paint pot. I use a crappy old synthetic brush to do this. And the next thing I do is a technique called backflow, which is where you cover the front of the nozzle and just gently, you'll need to turn your compressor on first, idiot. Just gently So you can see I've got air coming out there. So you put it up there, and then if you just pull your nozzle back slightly, it forces the air back through the brush, which mixes the paint in the cup a little bit more evenly. So I'm just going to do some quick testing on the overall paint. So the contrast paint is dilute, and so what you tend to see is, instead of wholesale changes to the colors, you instead get to see a little bit of tinting, a little bit of changing of the color, as opposed to wholesale sprays. So that's why I use the contrast paint for this. I use it for quite a few things, but this is one of my favorites. Frank, I have not done a tutorial on this model, no. I started it a couple of days ago, and yeah. So I'm sort of trying to play around with an idea that we've got a warm side of the model and a cold side of the model, but not locked into that idea. Just trying a few different things. I want to smooth off a little highlight on his shoulder there, which you can probably see. So if you have a look at this section here, there's this little slightly obvious transition there between those two colors. So I'm just going to add, hopefully, a very small amount of blending to that area. Let's see how we go. And again, I'm just mixing that in the cup. So this is extremely dilute. And I'm going to try and be very precise here. Thank you, Jewish Dictionary. Have a great evening, morning, or day, wherever it is you are, whatever time it may be. does take some time, Patrick, to be able to control the brush and understand where the paint is going to go, because there's no tactile response. You don't get to feel where the brush is aimed. You just have to practice and know that that's where it's aimed. So that takes time. But once you develop that skill, it can be very fun. Quite a big fan of the airbrush. Is the airbrush noise distracting, friends? So this is how I use, this is how I clean the airbrush. So this is just cleaner, which I run through the brush, same way as before. Just use that backflow. That will actually pull a lot of the color that's stuck inside, and then just use that brush to clean it a bit, and then shoot it out. And then I run some water through afterwards, doing the same thing. Alrighty. So, just going to do this little bit, and then I've got to think about the rest of the war paint situation, if we're going to go that way. If, I say if, because we're not sure. I'm not asleep. Hopefully I haven't sent anyone to sleep with my very, very average streaming. So let's try and build up some metal here, some sort of brassy handle or something. So the camera's turned off 4 times now. I'm going to have to do some research on that and see why it's doing that. Is that distracting for those people viewing? What color do I want? This, maybe this one. That is the secret. The hairdryer. I have an Elgato Camlink 4K, and I have a Sony something 4K camera that is connected to my computer via the Camlink. So this is the very first time I've used this particular setup at all. So I have not done anything other than try out what we're doing right now. So this was supposed to be a test. I shall watch this back and have a look at the footage and work out what things I can improve. Camcorder. It is the same camera that I've recorded my painting videos to date, and same one I took overseas and recorded stuff at Monty and Scale Model Challenge. So the next stage of metals is to use the glorious contrast paints again. How good? How good are they? I don't know too many other professional, or in my case, amateur painters that use the contrast paints quite as much as I do, or in as many different ways as I do. They're a reasonable product. Quite like them. So we're using them as a filter here to just filter over the color. Make it a little bit more coppery. And as per the earlier conversation, I'm just going to add some blue. Alrighty, so I think we've got a fair amount of material now for me to review. So I am going to cease streaming, go and have some dinner, and review the footage, see what I can improve, and then I will possibly return later on this evening and try again, hopefully with some improvements. So thank you everyone for providing such wonderful and detailed feedback. Thank you, Ashes. All right. Toodaloo. See you all later on. Bye.